I believe that everybody has a story, and I'm fascinated to hear them. So come with me as we take a walk down Fascination Street. The wait is over. It's finally here. After decades of making people across the country laugh.
I was trying to write the word eulogy the other day, and my phone just kept going like, we haven't found any substitutes. Spell check. There's a picture of a guy with his pockets pulled out going, I don't know.
And building a podcast empire.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. No choice but to get on, mandate. Get it on.
Adam Carolla has produced his very first stand-up special. In association with Chassis Media and Tug.com, Fascination Street Podcast presents Adam Carolla's Not Taco Bell Material.
No one in my family knew what I was doing. They didn't have basic cable. Bad sign financially when you can't afford something that starts with the word basic.
Wednesday, March 20th, 2019. In San Antonio, Texas. Tickets are $12, and you must buy your ticket in advance. We have to meet the pre-sale ticket threshold by March 12th, a week before the event. You can still buy tickets after March 12th, but we have to hit that threshold by March 12th for this event to take place on March 20th. I'm hosting. There will be giveaways of t-shirts, goodie bags, autographed books. All you got to do is show up and be ready to laugh. For ticket information, go to FascinationStreetPod.com. Click on that portrait of Adam Carolla, and it'll take you straight to the place where you buy tickets. It's going to be fun. I'll see you there. Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This episode is with Lindsay Glazer. Lindsay is a defense attorney by day and a stand-up comedian known as Alpha Bitch by night. In this episode, we talk about what made Lindsay decide to become a lawyer, and we talk about why, after several years of that, she decided to also pursue a career in stand-up comedy. Plus, we talk about the current lawsuit that she's embroiled in, where she is the defendant against six-time NBA champion Scottie Pippen. It's a very interesting interview, and a super fascinating lawsuit. Enjoy, guys. This is Alpha Bitch herself, defense attorney and stand-up comedian Lindsay Glazer.
Yeah, talk to me, yeah.
Welcome to Fascination Street, Lindsay Glazer. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it is absolutely my pleasure. So, the way this is going to work is we're going to get to know Lindsay Glazer. We're going to get to know you as a comedian and a defense attorney and maybe even a mom and a wife. Is that cool?
That's cool.
All right, rock on. So, Lindsay, where did you grow up?
I'm originally from Peoria, Illinois, which is a blue-collar factory town. It's where the headquarters for Caterpillar is. And allegedly where Jimmy Hoffa is buried.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Do you think he's buried, like, in some cement foundation of a building somewhere?
Rumor has it that he is buried in the walls of the most famous strip club in Peoria, Illinois, called Big Al's.
No shit?
True story.
Well, true allegedly.
Allegedly.
True rumor.
I don't want Jimmy Hoffa to sue me for defamation or his estate.
Yes. I wonder if his estate has any of that money left.
If they do, they probably can't tell you or they'd have to kill you.
Well, they probably have to kill you anyway.
Yeah.
So I guess you're born and raised in Peoria, Illinois, right?
Yep. Sure am.
And so at what point do you move to Florida and why?
Well, I moved to Florida after law school, and the best reason I can come up with is my dad was in California, and I was trying to get as far away from him as possible.
Is there a story there, or you just were tired of him?
No, I mean, the story is we're too much alike, and we butt heads a lot. I love my dad. We have a good relationship, but I was literally like, I need to get away from him. He's too controlling. He's trying to control my life. He's the reason I went to law school.
Oh, really? He's the reason you became a lawyer?
Yeah. I graduated early from college. My dad was like, what are you going to do now? And I was like, I don't know. He's like, how about you go to law school? I'm like, okay. Because there's a very old street joke. Jewish fathers tell their kids they can be anything they want when they grow up, any kind of doctor or lawyer they want. And that's what happened in my family.
Having watched the marvelous Mrs. Maisel, I agree that that's probably pretty accurate for Jewish families.
All stereotypes come from, some accuracy in some ways. There are some cultural truths to that.
Interesting. So how long were you in Florida?
I'm still in Florida. I live on both coasts, but I was there. I've been in Florida since 2003.
Oh, so you just commute back and forth?
Basically. Like, my law license is in Florida. I can practice a little in California, but mostly I practice in Florida.
Oh, wow. And what about your husband and your baby? Are they in L.A. or Florida?
We're now all based in L.A., but my husband's business is in Florida. But my daughter goes to school in L.A.
Oh, my
parents are
goodness.
Here. I'm here.
So
yeah, I joke that I live in the main cabin of Delta Airlines.
Main cabin extra, please.
Yeah, comfort, not main cabin. I mean, I have standards.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Sorry, I'm used to flying American Airlines.
I'm sorry for your loss.
I know, right? Okay, so so that means you were there for Hurricane Irma, right?
I sure was.
What'd that do for you?
Well, I guess we could blame Hurricane Irma for the lawsuit I'm currently in, which is public record. But Hurricane Irma actually destroyed our house in Florida last year. And while we were redoing, and I'm lucky because there were a lot of people who lost their house. People got hurt, didn't have insurance. It was a very big deal. And, Florida has a lot of hurricanes. Our house was destroyed, and our insurance ended up finding us a place to live. And it's all over the national news.
So we'll talk about that in a little bit. I don't want to spoil that surprise.
Okay.
All right. So suffice it to say, I guess the insurance company found you a place to, lease, and then we'll talk about that later. Cool?
Okay, got it.
All right.
Cool.
So did your house eventually get fixed and you were able to move back into it?
So my house did get fixed eventually, and then by that time I was so tired of just having to evacuate. That wasn't the first time we had to evacuate for a hurricane in Florida. And by that time, I just realized my daughter's life was so unstable from that year of having to just not live there that I was like, you know what? My family is in California. We've been thinking about moving out here. Let's just do it. So we redid the house, and instead of moving back into it, we put it on the market.
Oh, okay. So that's why you guys decided to, move bases to L.A.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy. That's crazy.
It used to be that Fort Lauderdale was our base and L.A. was temporary, and we just switched it around.
Gotcha. How long have you been a lawyer? You're a defense attorney, right?
Yes. I've been a lawyer since 2003 when I graduated, and I passed the bar that October.
Oh, so did you just take the bar one time?
Yes. I'm a smart cookie, man. One time I was done. The average fail rate in Florida is pretty high, though.
Well, I think that the former mayor of Los Angeles, Tony Villar, Antonio Villaraigosa, he failed the bar like 4 times or 5 times, and then he didn't pass it on the next one. He just quit trying.
And then he became a politician because most politicians are failed lawyers.
There you go. Well done. So why did you decide to be on the defensive side of the courtroom?
I wanted trial experience. So I knew I was either going to work for the prosecutor or the public defender's office. And just the public defender's office offered me the first job and more money. And I had already worked at a prosecutor's office during law school. I actually worked for Harry Connick Sr., Harry Connick Jr.'s dad, in New Orleans. He was a district attorney at the time I was in law school at Tulane. Get
out of here.
True story.
That is awesome. Are you still friends with him? Is he still alive?
He is still alive, the last I heard.
Nice. Well done. Okay, so you're a defense attorney and, things are going great. You're defending left and right. You're awesome. When did you decide that really wasn't enough and you wanted to have another more than full-time job where you traveled a whole lot and became a comedian?
Well, according to my sisters, I've been a comedian since I was 10 at the dinner table. So law was like my second career. But, you know, at a certain point as you're doing law, you just realize, especially in the defense arena, that as you get higher up the ladder, you're just like, what am I doing? I'm tired. It's stressful. I just needed a more creative outlet.
And so that was a natural path into comedy?
I mean, yeah. I did litigation, right? They're all the same skill. It's, does the audience like you? Does the jury like you? They've done 1,000 studies that if the jury likes you, you're more likely to win the case. It's the same thing in comedy. You're just trying to connect with the audience.
So in that way, would you say that being an attorney helped your comedy career more, or the comedy instincts helped your law career more?
They're both performances, but law helped me more in terms of the business of comedy than comedy itself. And it gave me more stories. Comedy instincts, I don't know that I had that many comedy instincts at the beginning, but I had a lot of creative stuff. Like I performed growing up, but, you know, I was in plays and I sang, that sort of thing.
Gotcha. So it's sort of like how a lot of times like church pastors and priests and whatnot will have been in some sort of, you know, drama or acting, you know, in school, because it's
That's
kind of
true.
Like you said, it's kind of a performance, you know. I mean,
Harry Connick Sr., the whole time he was a district attorney, sang in the Mardi Gras parades, was, you know, performed in the parades, everything.
Can he sing like his son?
Yeah, he's a good singer. I don't know if he's as good as his son. He definitely can sing.
Wow, that's awesome. Very cool. So, I want to backtrack just a quick second. I heard once you say that your high school was far better than your college. Can you tell me what you mean by that?
Yeah, where did I say that?
You said it on a podcast with a young lady. I don't remember her name. But you said that because of where you went to high school, you learned more or had a better high school experience than you did a college experience.
Not a better experience. Indiana University, where I went, was great. It was a great school, but it was very big for the high school I came from, where there were 82 people in my graduating class, and that was the biggest class. I went to private school at Lake Forest Academy, which was an excellent school and way ahead of its time. And we just learned a lot. There were very involved teachers, and it was boarding school. So it was just very different to go from that school, a private small school, to a very, very big Big Ten, you know, university. It went from like 82 people in my graduating class to, you know, to like 40,000 people on campus.
Gotcha. And that show that I heard it on was the Kira Sultanovich show. So everybody go check out that episode.
Oh, Kira. That's right. I know Kira. She's great.
So that was episode 254 of that show. So everybody go check Lindsay out on that show. It was a pretty good interview. I enjoyed it a lot. So comedians and comediennes, I guess they're sort of known for a particular lifestyle of, you know, staying out late, drinking, in some cases doing some, maybe some illicit substances.
Not illicit in California.
Well, sure, they do coke.
That was like more like in the 80s and the 90s. Coke is not the thing in comedy scene anymore.
Son of a bitch.
It's still it's marijuana.
Well, damn. Okay, so being a lawyer, does that affect your ability to, let's say, enjoy the comedy lifestyle at night?
You know, there's plenty of attorney lifestyle that goes with comedy lifestyle as well. Believe it or not, tons of attorneys are like going to NA and AA. But for me, I mean, the fact I'm a mom affects my ability to enjoy that lifestyle, but it's not really, honestly, I don't know if you could tell, but I'm a slight control freak to begin with. So I don't really have that kind of tendency. My stuff is more like, all right, like get in, get it done, get the comedy, go home, get the sleep, I don't have time to like hang out till 3 a.m. in the morning. It's interesting you say that because I told you I was at a doctor's appointment this morning and I mentioned to my primary, you know, they asked you if you do any recreational drugs. And I said, listen, I don't do any recreational drugs, but apparently it's kind of a hindrance to my career. It can't affect you. And he laughed the way you did, but it's true. Like, I don't hang out till 3 a.m. in the morning. I don't do any recreational I'm not saying I've never done any recreational drugs, but I don't do that like as lifestyle or anything like that. And it does affect your ability because it is like, Pete Holmes on Crashing, the scene on HBO. They show it in the comedy scene. He's hanging out with T.J. Miller. T.J. Miller's like giving him comedy advice, and T.J. Miller is like, the most important thing in comedy is to be a good hang. The truth is, I'm not a great hang. Like, I'm very funny. I'm fun to hang out with, but I'm not going to be at Denny's till 4 a.m. in the morning, you know, with that kind of lifestyle. I'll be with you there till 1:30 a.m., but then I got to go.
When you started saying that, I was actually about to mention Pete Holmes because I feel like that's how his career went. And particularly on that show Crashing, I think that Artie Lange's character is kind of the opposite of Pete's character in that realm as far as the hang and the drugs and the partying and the lifestyle and whatnot.
When I go visit my friends in New York, it's even worse. Like, I have to let those guys get like 5 drinks in before I can like take a drink.
Really?
Oh, God. New Yorkers, I mean, I have a pretty high, I lived in New Orleans as a lawyer. I have a pretty high alcohol tolerance. I'm not saying I do it all the time. I don't, because obviously, you know, I have a lot to do. But when I go to New York and those guys drinking everyone in the country under the table.
Wow. It sounds like they're a good hang.
They are good hangs. But I mean, hey, those are what the guys at the cellar are doing.
So let's transition a little bit and talk about failure. I feel like everyone, particularly the young adults, are scared to fail, but I feel like failure is a huge part of growing and learning in life and getting better at things, learning from your mistakes and whatnot. Can you talk a little bit about failure is the only option?
Oh, yes. Failure is the only option is a speech I give. It's actually a humorous speech I give to college students that is based on like comedy, that is about how to fail and how to learn from failing, because millennials today have like so much anxiety surrounding like not failing and extracurriculars that they're actually in turn the most anxious generation, and it's hurting them, and it hurts people to not fail. Like, no, we used to have the saying in law, like lawyers be like, I've never lost a trial. Well, okay, asshole, well, then you've never went to trial. Because any good lawyer who actually has litigation experience has went to trial several times, which means you've lost several times. Because if you can't take a verdict, you can't be a litigation attorney. And honestly, that's true for everything. If you can't learn how to fail, you can't get better. When I first started in comedy, people would be like, how come you can be booked more than me, even though you're not, you know, you're not in comedy as much? And the truth is, because I got rejected more than you. Like, I reached out more times. Like, there's this thing about 100 rejections a month. I actually do it. Like, I send out, like, I've done it from the beginning, whether it was about law or getting published or, the thing is, the more times you reach out, the more no's you're going to get, but eventually those no's just, you know, no's are just like, okay, you're not ready, next thing. And I try not to, like, let it affect me. I've had, like, bookers respond to me and say things, and I just, where my assistant was like, oh, are you worried about that? Nope. Next. There was I wish I could remember the name of this book, but it was about a military general. Said it's important, not just, it's okay to ask why this happened, why, but not to dwell on it, and to ask what's next. I'm not perfect at that, but I think that's important. I mean, I do a series of things actually on my website called also #WatchMeFail. It's mostly about me trying to be vegan for 30 days, but I do other versions of that. And it gets a lot of traction because I think people want to know it's okay to fail. Like, teach my daughter it's okay to fail all the time, because otherwise you're not getting any better. If you're recording the same material or, you know, doing the same thing, there's no room for growth.
I agree. And this is a talk that you give at campuses?
Yeah, the reason that speech happened was for APCA asked me to do a speech there, a leadership speech, and I did it, and it got a lot of good feedback, and so I do it at a lot of colleges. A lot of times I'll go to colleges, I'll do the comedy and that speech, and I get a lot of traction from it. And I just tell the story about how I was perfect. I was so perfect and so needing, like, straight A's growing up. It took me a long time to, like, realize that it was, like, okay not to have straight A's. Like, I really had to, like, redo how I thought about like that sort of thing. For whatever reason, I always was like, I need to be the best, the most competitive, straight A, not just straight A's, but like book award and this and not just I want an A. but I want the top A in the class. It's just like crazy stuff.
I think that goes to your control freakishness.
It's also my dad's fault because he probably wanted sons and, treated us like sons. So we were like ultra competitive about everything.
All three of you?
Everyone. Do you ever see that movie Rat Race where they're like betting on everything? Everyone in my family is like that.
Really?
They'll bet on anything. I have this like very strange memory. We were all in Vegas. I don't know if you know, but my dad's like a professional poker player.
I did not.
And we're in Vegas at this restaurant in the Bellagio. And above the table we're sitting at, there's this like, I don't know, this decoration thing of a monkey on a wire that's being remotely controlled back and forth. And my grandfather, my uncle, and my dad are placing bets on how many times this monkey is going to go back and forth in the trapeze in a 30-minute period. And this thing devolved into like a screaming thing about like who knew more about math and like just crazy stuff.
That is hilarious.
Yeah. See? Crazy family usually equals funny stuff.
That really is funny. Back to the failure and the, getting no's, like when you're trying to do things, you keep getting turned down or you keep getting a bunch of no's. Mary Kay Ash, the Mary Kay Cosmetics lady, she sort of turned that into a game with her company. She has her consultants they call it the 100 no challenge. So they try to get 100 no's in a row as far as, signing up somebody to be a beauty consultant or even just to sell them some makeup. So, and the theory is that you have to start over every time you get a yes. And so you can never get to a no. And so it kind of makes it a little competition to kind of speed through the no's and get to the yeses.
Yeah. And it's a good plan. I mean, the thing is, everyone gets rejected. Everyone has feelings about rejection. It's just important not to like dwell on those feelings and move on. I'm not saying I'm the best. There's plenty of things that aggravate me that are ridiculous. I just try not to let that stop me from moving forward.
Gotcha. Let's talk about Alpha Bitch.
Okay.
Now, Alpha Bitch is I guess it's kind of your trademark. Would you call it?
It is legally my trademark.
Would you call it a persona, or how would you describe that? Is it your motto, or?
So a lot of people think like, oh, that's just like a persona or stick. It's not that it's a persona. It's really me. It's a thing. But I'm trying to make this very clear. I don't think I'm a bitch. I'm not a bitch. I think I'm great. I'm nice. But I do say what I think all the time without fear of consequence, because the thing is, I'm my own boss. And I already made money before comedy. So you can't really hurt me in the way you could hurt someone who really needs a job or really needs like something. And a lot of people don't like that. And so I get called a bitch because basically in my eyes, I say no, or I say what I think in the same way a male would without trying to sugarcoat it, because I don't feel the need to do that. And because of that, I get called a bitch a lot. It's not just me. Other women get called a bitch a lot for that, too. So I just kind of take it and try and, like, get rid of the connotations surrounding it, because the truth is it's totally sexist to say that a woman is a bitch because she says all the shit you don't want to hear that a male could say and you can't handle it. People don't like when women say no or women say what they think.
I don't like what you just said there, so I'm gonna take that out.
All right.
Just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. Just
How
me.
dare you?
Yes, just me not liking whatever you said. Just kidding.
Yeah, it's just like, and the thing is, I was a criminal defense attorney, which had a bunch of men over 60 in it, so I'm used to dealing with that. So comedy has a bunch of men under 30. It's just the same idea, only the men over 60 in criminal defense usually have more self-esteem and don't have as many issues. So it's different dealing with it.
Interesting. So do you find it like being a touring female comic, is it like, do you feel alone out there sometimes?
Yeah, a lot of times you're alone, and sometimes that's good. I like my alone time. I'm lucky my husband is his own boss, so he can travel with me to all the fun places, like, in Florida or New York. And, I'm lucky in another way because in a lot of cases, I don't have to stay at a condo at this level.
Gotcha. So it's mostly guys, I'm assuming, that are touring comedians or are doing stand-up at the places that you play. Do you, like, this is going to sound weird, but are there enough women in comedy for there to be, like, a camaraderie between you ladies?
Yes. There are plenty of women in comedy, very, very funny women. And the truth is, women in comedy are actually, from what I've seen, very healthy, very supportive. They're willing to help each other out. I don't see a lot, I assume this is what you're asking. I don't see a lot of cattiness from women at all in comedy. I mean, there's cattiness everywhere, but I don't see it in the way I'm guessing you're imagining it on the comedy side.
Well, while that is an awesome answer, and thank you because I probably was going to ask that particular question, but I really meant, don't you get tired of hanging out with just dudes on the comedy circuit?
No, because I've always hung out with just dudes. From the time I was younger, I grew up with all male cousins. There's mostly males in criminal defense and law. Most of the women in comedy are used to hanging out with a lot of dudes, so you're all just it's all one thing. I mean, it's not like every time you're hanging out with the dudes, they're like, hey, let's all go to a strip club or whatever. I don't really get tired of hanging out with dudes or whatever. Everyone's cool. But a lot of times I'll just go back to my room and work or do whatever.
Well, that's good to hear. I was a little bit nervous that maybe some guys on the circuit or whatever were a little cold-shouldered or standoffish towards the ladies, but it doesn't sound like that's the case. I think
it's never been my experience, but I think the guys are now scared because of what's going on, to hang out alone with women or whatever. But fortunately, the guys I'm on the road with, totally above the board, no issue, no anything.
That's good. Good to hear.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about your, I guess it's an ongoing lawsuit?
Yes, ongoing lawsuit.
The Jim Rome Show.
In a story that can only take place in Florida, Scottie Pippen is suing two tenants for allegedly trashing his Fort Lauderdale mansion. According to a lawsuit obtained by WPLG, Scottie landlord claims that he rented his spot for $30,000 a month to a married couple who was late on the rent. They have animals that urinated all over the joint, allegedly causing damage to the floors and the furniture. The lawsuit also says that the couple used the property for commercial purposes despite it being a residential-only lease, and that this place has fallen into a state of disrepair. Now let's Floridify it, starting with the alleged stolen item from the house. And apparently one of the missing items is, wait for it, a set of Cuisinart kitchen knives. This is not some game on The Price is Right. This is a real lawsuit involving Scottie freaking Pippen. And in response to that part of the lawsuit, the woman named in the lawsuit, Lindsay Glazer, she started a GoFundMe page to replace Scottie's knives. She's looking to raise $14. Like Scottie Pippen is suing this woman. And this woman's response was to start a GoFundMe page to raise $14 and promise to donate the excess money to charity. That's a pretty savage move, right? Legendary baller. Scottie Pippen is suing you, and your response is to mock Scottie Pippen by starting a GoFundMe page. That's pretty savage. It's actually pretty funny. It's almost too funny. It's almost like some comedian thought up that gag. Lindsay Glazer is a comedian that goes by the stage name Alpha Bitch. Hey, Scottie, you ought to know a thing or two about getting out-alphaed, right? Now it's Scottie versus the Alpha Bitch. She's a comedian. That's not what Scott thought. He thought that he was leasing his mansion to somebody rich, because apparently Scottie and the lawyers thought that Lindsay Glazer was a part of the Glazer family. The Glazer family that owns the Tampa Bay Bucks, that's involved in soccer. Glazer responded by saying, quote, "If that were the case, we would have leased from Michael Jordan instead." Oh, Scottie! And she just alpha bitch slapped Scottie with a mic burn. I've got my popcorn ready. This is a battle now. And right now the scoreboard in this battle has got Alpha Bitch up 2-0 on Scottie.
Now, I did, read up a little bit on it, and I believe on your website there's a clip of, I think it's Jim Rome talking about it.
Yep.
So I don't know how much of it you're allowed to talk about, but can you give us the broad beats?
Yes, the broad beats. Scottie Pippen is suing me. Our house was injured in Hurricane Irma. Meanwhile, we leased another house. Because there were so many natural disasters, there was not very much inventory. So when you have a house, they're not allowed to go, okay, you had a 4-bedroom house on the water. We're going to now give you a 2-bedroom apartment 25 minutes away. They have to do it within a 3-mile radius, the same or better house. There wasn't very much inventory where I lived in Florida. There were 3 things available, and the cheapest one was actually Scottie Pippen's mansion. And I mean Scottie Pippen, the former NBA Bulls player. Now, they rented it out, and when we moved, this is in the pleading, it's all public record. We moved in, the house was in poor condition, but, we just needed a place to live. At that point, we had just been so crazy from living in hotels, etc. Scottie Pippen is now suing me for alleged damages to his house because he and his lawyer mistakenly believe that I'm related to the Glazer family that owns the Tampa Bay Bucks and Manchester United. And as everyone knows, Scottie Pippen, has had financial issues. All that is going on. We issued a press release at the time that it happened and denied the allegations in the pleading, which were absurd. The pleadings are public record. And the first thing that's going to happen, people always think like the litigation is just like, everyone's always like, who won? You or Scottie Pippen? That's not how that works. Like, the first motion is in March, and then there'll be a hearing on the motion. We filed a motion to dismiss its pleading because of a lot of inaccuracies.
Now, that's a whole lot to unpack. So, according to what I heard Jim Rome talking about it, Scottie was getting $30,000 a month for that property?
From my insurance.
That had to be one heck of a nice property.
Honestly, my property on Gordon Road in Fort Lauderdale is 1,000 times better kept than Scottie Pippen's property was. Like, we moved in, and we didn't rent the dock. There was a dock attached to it, and there was, like, iguana poop all over the dock. And there was so many things that it was, like, obvious they didn't take care of their own property, either because he wasn't there or because they didn't want to spend the money. It was a large property, but it was not well kept.
Gotcha. And so he's saying that all of this damage and disrepair happened as a result of you and your family staying there. And your argument is that, most of it was like that when you got there?
Sort of. I mean, there's a lot of, like, crazy stuff in the pleading that they, like, accused me of. It's just, like, random stuff. Like, I don't know if you saw the pleading, but they accused me of stealing their Cuisinart knives. And I was like, no. And honestly, his lawyer filed that pleading, and I was just like, it's just like the truth is, it's like any other landlord-tenant case, only it's Scottie Pippen, so it's in the news.
Right. That makes sense. So one of the things that I guess is news and noteworthy about this case is that I guess because you're a comedian and you are a bit of a smartass in a funny way, you started... A bit.
Don't insult me.
So you're a giant smartass in a funny way.
Yeah.
And so you started a GoFundMe to raise money to buy him a set of $14 knives?
I did. Honestly, I was so, like, the pleading was so absurdly ridiculous that it wasn't just like, hey, there's some, it put my net worth, which wasn't my net worth. It said in the pleading I was worth $4.5 billion and, related to Malcolm Glazer, which is crazy, and actually can put my daughter or me in danger, if they think that's true. It was just so, like, his pleading was so ridiculous that I responded to the plea. Like, that pleading was, I don't know if you remember, but they said that I sped in the school zone in the pleading and that I have a tendency to break the law, which is interesting coming from a guy who was arrested for felony assault in 1999.
So where did they get that information from?
Court records or public records. So I got a ticket for speeding in the school zone, completely true. It doesn't belong in a legal pleading. It's very clear that lawyer was just trying to defame my reputation by putting it in the pleading, and he probably tipped off the reporter.
That is so nuts. So I looked at the GoFundMe earlier today, and I think you were trying to raise $14 to buy these knives, and it's up to like $700.
Yeah.
And everybody out there, don't freak out. She's given everything over that $14. She's given it to a charity, right?
Yeah, and we did. We gave it to the Fisher House because they deal with like PTSD. And people don't know this about me, but I also have my master's in criminology.
What?
And I did my thesis on like post-traumatic stress disorder and how it's affected. And it's a really like a cause. Like I'm very pro-military. I do not care what you think about the military-industrial complex or whether you're pro-war. All that stuff is valid, but I still think that our military should be treated way better than the way they're treated. Veterans put their lives on the line all the time. Specifically so, you can go, I hate the military-industrial complex. You have the right to say that because people put their lives on the line every day, and then these poor veterans get back after basically being paid not a lot and then can't pay their mortgages, can't get good health care, and we literally go, oh, okay, who cares? It really, is crazy. It makes me think that everyone in America should have to serve in the military the way you do in other countries so you understand. People, the resentment towards the military is, it's just gotten increased and widened, and it's unfair because, Joe Schmo in the military has nothing to do with whether that Democratic or Republican president decided to go to war or send them somewhere. They have nothing to do with it. They're just people who either thought that the military was a good idea because it paid for your college afterwards, or they didn't have anywhere else to go, or a million other things.
Well, I agree wholeheartedly. My wife was in the Navy for, 10 years or something like that. And she went off to war, and I agree. I think that, the military and the ex-military don't get enough respect, and they're not treated, good enough. So good on you.
Because it's not them. It's not, by the way, the Navy's the best of all the places in how they treat everyone. Because at least, with the education part, the Navy really, really goes out of its way.
Yeah, they were pretty good to her.
She had all those guys in the Navy, and she married you?
I know, right?
Yeah. It's super fun. I mean, there are a lot of people, by the way, because Tulane had Admiralty as a specialty, who are from the Navy who I went to law school with.
Very cool.
They had a big portion of people who went to law school after the Navy at Tulane because of the Admiralty specialty.
Wow. That's crazy. So, I know that on your website you have tour dates. Do you have anything outside of California coming up anytime soon?
Where are you located? Remind me.
I'm in San Antonio, Texas.
San Antonio, Texas. So I won't be there anytime soon, although I'm supposed to be at Hyenas. Some point. Where are we? I just had a big show in Florida, Fort Lauderdale. I have some shows this week in LA, and then the weekend after, I'm in Florida again, outside of California. My next big show outside of California is actually in Fort Myers, Florida. You know where that is?
Yes. I haven't been there, but I know where it is on the map.
It's at the Lappin Comedy Cafe, which is a great place to go if you're anywhere nearby in Florida. And I'll be at that club the third weekend in March. Before that, I'm just at Ventura Harbor for the weekend in California. And then I have single shows in Florida and Fort Lauderdale. The last weekend in March, I'm in Dangerfields in Minnesota.
Oh, cool. That's a pretty
Hopefully
big
it'll be warm
club.
by then.
Yeah, no kidding. Hopefully.
You're talking about Dangerfields in New York, which is a big club, and I perform there too. But there's one in Minnesota.
Well, is it in Minneapolis or St. Paul or the Twin Cities or whatever?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
yeah.
so it is my understanding that the Twin Cities area has a phenomenal comedy scene.
Yes, you are absolutely right. Minneapolis is known for Acme, which is a great club and a great scene. I have never been to Minnesota because I hate the winter. So the end of March will be my first time. I'm told it will be warmer there, but I don't believe them because in Illinois, it's still -10 in March.
I wouldn't believe them either. When I lived in Kentucky, everybody said that oh, that this terrible winter that I was experiencing was one of a kind and it never happens, but then it happened again the next year, so don't believe anybody.
That's what they keep telling me in LA, that it's never as cold here. That's why there's all these leaks.
Yeah, and that
my
it
husband's from
never
Kentucky,
rains.
right?
Oh, I did not know that.
Right. He's a redneck. He's a Jewish redneck.
Wow.
A Jew-billy.
I didn't even know those existed.
That's what I said. He's a Jew-billy.
That is amazing. Where in Kentucky?
He grew up, or his dad is from Louisville, really. So he grew up in Louisville when he was younger, and then they moved to Cincinnati. And then they, go back and forth, that little place where the airport is, Kentucky, where the Cincinnati airport is on the levee in Kentucky.
Correct. Yeah, I think so. We lived in Louisville for about a year and a half, and then decided that really wasn't for us, so we came back. I mean, it was pretty, and the people were nice, but I just couldn't handle the winters. And when it wasn't snowing, it was raining, and it was, I'm from San Antonio, and this is the desert. So I'm not used to having moss growing on my grass. It was weird.
That is interesting.
Yes.
Hey, streetwalkers. Well, you're not literally streetwalkers. But now that I've got your attention, I am Stephen O'Reilly, and I have a podcast called the Bar Star Podcast. And since you're listening to the Fascination Street podcast, I think you should check out my show. It's just as interesting without all the famous people, because Steve has connections that I just do not have. But if you dig podcasts about music, working musicians, and other random shit that I decided to talk about, based around music, of course, because that's what I do. I'm a working musician for the past 30 years, then you need to check out the Bar Star Podcast. You can get it wherever you get your podcast, on any platform, and make sure you check out barstarpodcast.com. Now back to the one and only Steve Owens and whatever the hell he was talking about.
I end up in Texas quite a bit. My husband has a lot of cousins there. He has big developer cousins in Dallas and Houston. Al Farb, have you heard of him?
No, I try not to pay attention to big developers.
Smart. His son's on the radio on a country station, which is interesting. Jim Farb.
I also try not to pay attention to country. Just kidding.
Well, you don't bother me, but you're from Kentucky. If you're from Texas and you don't listen to country music?
Well, we don't all have horses and cowboy hats.
And truck?
Oh, I do have a truck.
Can you do the two-step?
I cannot dance at all.
See, it used to be my thing that I was going to marry a Jewish cowboy, rich cattle rancher. My friends are like, what are you talking about? There's no such thing. That is a unicorn.
Have you ever met one?
Not a Jewish rancher, but I assume they're out there.
I can't
But
imagine.
my husband was close. He's a Jewish redneck.
Yeah, that's about as close as you're going to get, I think.
No. It doesn't seem to be the same thing. Is San Antonio, so are you a Spurs fan?
Yes, ma'am.
So that year away in Louisville didn't tamper that loyalty.
Well, in the entire state of Kentucky, there's no professional sports teams in any sport.
That's true.
So
that's not true. That's not true because the Derby is in Kentucky and that's a professional sport.
Oh my God. I guess that counts. I did go to the Derby. Well, actually, the only people who go to the Derby are the people who don't live there. The people who live there go to the race the day before, which is called the Oaks.
Right, yeah.
So I went to the Oaks once and I went to the Derby once, and the Derby was way more fun. And good Lord, so many people. So many people.
I've been to the Derby 5 times because my father-in-law had inherited a box there. They sold it eventually. But it was fun times.
Good
I've been to
Lord.
the Oaks, too. And I've been to the place, the original Kentucky Fried Chicken thing.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
That's funny.
I remember specifically, I ordered, grilled or broiled chicken, and my father-in-law was giving me a hard time. You're not going to order the fried chicken at the original KFC?
Was it delicious, though?
It was good. Listen, people are like, oh, I like Kentucky Fried Chicken. Honestly, I think it's good. If I ate that kind of food all the time, I don't think it's that bad for what it is. It's exactly what it's supposed to be, which is fast food chicken.
Well, I think that everybody is just a snob about everything now, and everything is too cool for school. So they must have done something right to be the global powerhouse that they are.
Yeah.
So everybody can just shut the fuck up.
It is like a thing. There's some I agree. Everyone should shut the fuck up. I don't know when it became shameful to eat at a fast food. It's so stupid. Everything's so stupid. I don't give a flying fuck what you think about where I eat. I don't care.
I'm with you. Mind your own goddamn business and eat your own food and leave me alone.
Yeah, although I will say I am in LA and I've never once had Del Taco. And apparently that's something I need to do.
So here in San Antonio, they put a Del Taco. I think it was Del Taco. Anyway, it didn't really survive here because San Antonio is really kind of famous.
Tex-Mex capital.
Yeah, it's really famous for how good the food is here. And so that Del Taco did not really work out. But I did go there once. And, me being a spoiled brat raised in San Antonio with Mexican food, I think that's a safe thing for you to skip. I don't think you need to go there.
I spent a lot of time in Texas because even in college, my boyfriend interned at Texas Instruments.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I was in Dallas. The summer was 106, and people were dying. And I remember him coming home from work, and I was lying out by the pool. And he's like, "What are you doing outside? Get inside. People are dying. It's a heat stroke." I was working on my tan.
That's funny. Well, Lindsay.
Mm-hmm.
Lindsay, can you tell everybody where to find you on social media and where they can find you at your website?
Oh, yes. You can find me at www.lindsayglazer, LindsayGlazer.com. You can find me on YouTube at Lindsay Glazer Comedy if you want to see the Alphabet videos, which are a different thing than my stand-up. I'm on Twitter, Lindsay Glazer, Instagram, Lindsay Glazer Comedy. And you can also just follow me on my Facebook page on Lindsay Glazer Comedy. I mean, pretty much you could type in Lindsay Glazer and all that stuff will come up because of the Scottie Pippen stuff.
Gotcha.
My dad taught me that you don't back down just because that guy a bully. What he thought was, oh, Scottie has money. He's a celebrity. She'll freak out when she's a comedian, her reputation. And I don't roll like that. Listen, I have no clue whether I'm going to win or lose or it's going to settle. And I don't know. But I'm not going to go down without a fight. So,
is there a particular dollar amount that he is trying to get?
Yeah, it's public record. They're saying $103,000, the dollar amount, which is absurd. And they said all this stuff about the pets and just. They said in the pleading that we let our pets and other people urinate on the property. I'm like, other people? What are they talking about?
That's hilarious.
So, I will tell you this. What I'm most angry about is that I'm now being forced to watch episodes of Real Housewives to defend the case.
Oh, shit. Holy shit, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
What a garbage lawyer that guy is. And also, I guess, Scottie.
And it breaks my heart because growing up, I was a big old Jordan fan. My dad used to take us to see both Bulls and Bears games. We drive up from Peoria, Illinois, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Ruined the dream, man.
Yeah, that kind of sucks.
Did you hear, Future said he slept with Larsa because Scottie Pippen didn't sign his autograph when he was 8 years old.
Whoa.
I think he remembered specifically that he wanted an autograph from Scottie Pippen, and the security, told him to go away, and then he held that grudge forever.
Wow.
That's a champion grudge holder.
No shit. That guy wins.
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
All right.
That's the story.
Well, Lindsay, is there anything that we didn't talk about or I didn't ask you that you wanted to talk about?
Nope.
All right. Well, Lindsay Glazer, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us and let us get to know you a little bit on Fascination Street. I would encourage everybody to go to her website and click on the show dates and the tour dates and go check those out. A lot of you live in California. Go see her on the weekends or whenever it is.
I was going to ask you how you found out about me.
I think just Twitter. I don't even really know how I came across you on Twitter, but I think I've been following you for a while, and I'm not sure how. I
don't even
no
good
idea.
at Twitter. My agent is like, get better at Twitter.
What an awesome agent. Thanks for the constructive advice. You want to help a brother out? Like, how? Help me.
I'm like, okay. I just Twitter's hard for me to like engage on that level 20 times a day. I don't have that much. I just don't have that much to say.
Right. That makes sense because you say it all on the stage and you say it all to people's face, so you don't have anything to talk about later.
Where do you go to comedy in San Antonio? I'm going to try and come there next.
There is a couple of comedy places. There's Laugh Out Loud Comedy.
LOL. I have heard of that club.
Yes. And then there's some other ones. I have a buddy of mine who he does stand-up. And so he's like doing stand-up everywhere because he's trying to get reps. And so I don't normally go to comedy clubs when I go to see him. It's like it'll be some bar in some college town or whatever that's, he just has an open mic night or whatever and he's just trying to get reps. So like for the most part, those are the scenes I'm going to.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But as far as the comedy clubs in San Antonio, there's Laugh Out Loud. There's the Blind Tiger, which I haven't been to that. Yeah, I haven't been there yet. There's the River City Comedy Club downtown. And there's one called Bear Stage, Bexar, because, we're in Bear County. And I haven't been there either. So there's a few, but they're kind of spread out a little bit.
Cool. I'll have to check it out.
You will have to check it out. And maybe my buddy can open for you.
Yeah, there you go. What's his name?
His name is AJ Garces.
I'll remember that.
He's a pretty funny guy. Well, Lindsay, thank you again so much for taking the time, and I want you to have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. You have a great day.
I'll talk to you later. Bye. Opening music is the song Magnolia from the 2014 album Intransigence, used with permission from Douglas Miles Clark. Closing music is Apollo from the 2001 album Into the Known by the band Sapphire. Thanks for hanging out with us and getting to know a little bit about our guest. We'll see you next time on Fascination Street.